Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Josh Schimmels, publisher and CEO of the San Fernando Valley Business Journal. We are excited to continue our ongoing conversation on DE&I here at the Business Journals and to extend our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Awards into the San Fernando Valley. Earlier this year, we discussed how DE&I impacts the growth and the success of our businesses, as well as the employees that work at them. You know, leaders often wonder how to go about creating a culture of diversity in the workplace, how to improve theirs, and then how to make sure that it's done with intention. Today, we're honoring and going to have a chance to learn from some of the very best DE&I champions in the greater San Fernando Valley region. We're proud to showcase the great work being done and also encourage more business leaders to get involved. I'd like to thank a group of companies that have demonstrated their own commitment to DE&I. That's our sponsors. I want to thank them for the support of the program today and all that they're doing in our community of business. A special thank you so much to our three diamond sponsors, Bernard's, the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics at CSUN, and Wells Fargo Bank. Also to our two gold sponsors, Ballard, Rosenberg, Gulper, and Savitt, and Light Gabler Law. Thank you so much for being a part of this. All right, we've got a lot of great conversation to have. Let's get this celebration started and take a look at some of the absolute best, the most impressive, and most impactful businesses and leaders paving the way in the San Fernando Valley, the class of 2022 DE&I Award honorees. Congratulations to all of our honorees. It's time to meet a few of these organizations and learn more about what they're doing internally to incorporate DE&I into their cultures, their missions, and how those efforts are impacting the communities and their organizations. Let me tell you a little bit about how today is going to work. We have the privilege of having 11 of the 17 companies we're honoring joining us today. I'll be introducing them along with one of their executives who's been instrumental to their DE&I success. They'll accept their award, and then we're going to ask them a few questions. Our goal today is to honor them and also learn from them. We have an opportunity to hear from these organizations. I believe that the time we're all investing in today's program is going to result in actionable takeaways for each of us, things we could do at our own organizations, and then, of course, the opportunity to be inspired. So with that, let's meet our first honoree. This company believes that an environment of inclusion fosters innovation, which drives their ability to serve patients. Congratulations to our first DE&I award winner, Amgen. With us today is Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer, Tamika Jean-Baptiste. Tamika, we welcome you to join us and say a few words. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Josh. And I am honored to accept this award with the other esteemed honorees on the call today. As a leading global biotech company, Amgen's mission, as you mentioned, is to serve patients with serious illnesses. And we're also deeply committed to serving our employees by fostering a safe and supportive community in which we live and work. As you stated, we do believe that our differences lead to better science, not only in the workplace, but beyond. And really excited to talk to you a little bit about some of that today.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I'm curious. I've read so much about it in both this and other forums about Amgen's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, in particular in the community that it serves. What does that mean to you?
Absolutely. For over 40 years, Josh, we have taken our presence in the community very seriously and really looking to make significant and sustainable change and really reinforce with our employees, just what good comes from giving back and investing in the places where we live and where we work. We continue to establish relationships and partnerships, not only with healthcare institutions, but at academia, with schools, nonprofit organizations, local businesses, to really address the barriers around a few things. First and foremost, health equity, very important to us, social justice, as well as expanding economic opportunities in the communities that we operate. And there are several examples by which we're doing that. We do believe that the health of our community has a tremendous impact on the health of our business. And we look forward to expanding and continuing to strengthen those partnerships as we continue on our DI&B journey.
Thanks for sharing that. I had the privilege of being a part of a health equity conversation with a few of your folks earlier in the year, and just had a chance to learn a little bit about more what you're doing in different areas. Let me ask you this. Why is it so important for companies like Amgen to build that culture of inclusion and belonging? What does it mean to you and your organization?
Absolutely. So as a part of our diversity or DEI efforts, we use the term very strategically: diversity, inclusion, and belonging. That belonging piece is really significant for us because it's a reminder that we have to foster an environment where our employees not only feel respected, visible, and valued. And we also know that when you build a diverse and inclusive environment, you actually build deeper trust and more commitment from your employees. And I think we all can agree that it's been well established that a diverse and inclusive culture has a lot of benefits, right, to the employees first and foremost, but also to us as a company. Diverse and inclusive cultures, they boost morale, they increase engagement, it generates better business results. And as a part of our diversity, inclusion, and belonging journey, we are investing more deeply in our people as well as our communities. When you think about what we've gone through over the past 2.5 years, we're creating more flexible work schedules with an option for a lot of our remote worker, for a lot of our work to be remote where possible. We also leverage and lean very heavily on the guidance of our 11 employee resource groups to make sure that our DI&B efforts are not only aligned, but really tracking with our diverse staff population around the globe. And last but not least, we are increasing our outreach and investment to make sure that we are expanding diverse suppliers in our local communities. And we're truly seeking out those partnerships and collaborations with those that share in our desire to promote a more just and equitable society. And we have a lot of things that we're invested in the local LA region. One in particular, we're a founding member of a coalition called 110, with the goal to hire more than 1 million Black Americans into family-sustaining jobs over the next 10 years. So again, we're taking our commitment to the next level by truly trying to improve the economic conditions of many in this region specifically. So again, our efforts are all done with a strong focus on our mission to serve patients, but we know we can't serve our patients if we don't sustain and support our talent and the communities that they come from.
I really appreciate you sharing that all with us, and we wish you all the best in your 110 initiative. I'm taking notes because I think there's so much for us to learn today. And if I can take one or two key words from each of our esteemed, honored businesses today, and make a sort of a Cliff Notes version of best practices, I think it would mean a lot. I got a lot from everything you said. I wrote and circled the word belonging. I think that's really important. So thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Well, glad to be here, and thank you.
Congratulations. All right, our next honoree supports the growth of emerging local and disadvantaged businesses and also promotes local worker staffing on projects. Congratulations goes to Bernard's. I'd like to welcome Rick Botchman, Executive Vice President, to join us and say a few words. Rick, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me. On behalf of the Executive Committee and the entire Bernard's team, we're grateful for this recognition. It's really wonderful to see so many organizations from the Valley gathered here to celebrate and acknowledge efforts made towards strengthening diversity, equity, and inclusion. We at Bernard's are in the early stages of adoption of our DE&I program, and there's much enthusiasm and excitement around our initiatives, but there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm very encouraged to be here with all of you today to learn a greater awareness of what DE&I is and the importance of it in the workplace. The world is very different today. As Tamika mentioned, it is important that as employers and business owners, we do our part to ensure that our employees and our teams feel a sense of belonging, that our culture truly makes them feel part of the team, that their backgrounds, beliefs, experiences are welcomed and recognized and embraced. So again, on behalf of Bernard's, we thank you for this recognition.
Rick, congratulations. You mentioned that you're in your early stages of this initiative, which is great to see more action being taken. Let me ask you this: when deciding to roll out the DE&I program, what was most important to Bernard's strategy?
Well, we've had big changes over the last few years. We were a family-owned firm at our beginning and for 40 years of our existence. But 5 years ago, the brothers who owned Bernard's actually sold the firm to the employees. And so we're now an employee-owned company and going through succession process. So as with many of our programs and initiatives, but especially with DE&I think the key ingredient to the success of our program is the alignment with our leadership team. As mentioned, we have a new CEO and president that have occupied their office as of July 1st. And one of the top discussions that both of them brought were related to DE&I and our upcoming plans and efforts. Fortunately, this is one of great importance to our entire executive team. And so there's a lot of support back in the initiative. There's a desire by our company to learn more, to understand, again, what DEI is for us and how do we ensure is lived out in our culture on a daily basis and not just a program that we develop and speak to. It's imperative that there's alignment from the top down.
Yeah, and you talk about that employee-owned structure. So that's from an internal standpoint. Let me ask you this. Are there external organizations that you're involved with or the company's involved with or connected to that have helped to demonstrate DEI in action?
Yeah, there are a few. Construction is an industry that has gone through tremendous change over the last decade and really coming into its own. One organization that many of our employees belong to and are on the leadership group of is a group called WIOPS, Women in Construction Operations. WIOPS is a nonprofit organization that strives to support the advancement of women in construction. And it's based on 3 pillars: networking, mentorship, and education. Our employees find that it's a rare venue where they can speak to the challenges that they face with peers who are going through similar things and really learn and find mentors who can relate to them at a very high level. This group was founded actually here in Southern California by women in the construction industry in 2013, and they've grown to over 1,300 now. They've got chapters here in SoCal, one in Northern California, and they're currently working on plans to expand to the East Coast.
That's fascinating. Over the years, I've had a chance to get involved with and attend events for CREW, which is Commercial Real Estate Women. I was unaware of, is it WIOPS? Women
Yes, WIOPS.
in construction. So I'd love to learn more. Thank you for sharing that with us. Wish you all the best and congratulations.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, to announce and introduce our next 3 honorees, I'd like to welcome Diamond sponsor, Devon Davis, Wells Fargo Commercial Banking with Wells Fargo Bank. Devon, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. As Josh mentioned, my name is Devon Davis. I'm a Senior Vice President with Wells Fargo Commercial Banking. Before I move on to the next honoree, I would like to commend Josh, Tori, and his entire team, the entire Los Angeles Business Journal team, the entire San Fernando Valley Business Journal team, for their continuing efforts to highlight diversity. And I think, when you bring attention and focus and effort to the diversity journey, that's when results really happen. And Wells Fargo is really proud to be a partner in that journey. Our next honoree comes from the education field. Congratulations to California State University Northridge. They have a university student union committed to supporting students and educational goals through inclusive programs, services, and activities. Today, we have Dr. William Watkins, Vice President for Student Affairs. William, we would like to invite you to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Devon, for inviting me to share a bit here with our gathered esteemed honorees. I'm so honored to be here on behalf of Cal State University Northridge, the university here for this region and here in the San Fernando Valley. And hopefully you've got lots of former CSUN students in all of your organizations making important contributions. We're looking forward to the start of our fall term on August 29th. Last year, this time, we started with an enrollment of 38,500 plus students, our undergrads and graduate students. One of the things that we pride ourselves in here at Cal State Northridge is, in fact, the diversity of our student body. Currently, our student body is comprised of about 55% Latinx students, 21% white students, 9% Asian American, about 5.5% African American students, 3% international students, which is an important component, and then other groups here. We are led by Dr. Erica Beck, who is still relatively new in her leadership of Cal State Northridge. I hope you have a chance to meet her somewhere along the lines. You will find her a very energetic and creative and powerful leader. She is leading us to become a brighter and more equitable future ahead of us in terms of what we do for our students. I will share that one thing that has come our way recently that we're really, really proud of is our CSU Hispanic Serving Institution Global Innovation Hub, where we are working with Apple, pursuant to a very significant grant that they've given to us, to really develop promising practices, accelerate educational equity, innovative technology approaches, building collaborations, building the workforce for tomorrow relative to primarily STEM fields, but other fields as well. We were selected for that in part because we are a Hispanic serving institution and because of our long track record of commitment to diversity and inclusion. So happy to be here with you, Devon, and thanks so much to the San Fernando Valley Business Journal.
Well, thank you for that. I can guarantee you we have many alum at our organization that are doing great work. So appreciate that. Also, loved to hear the collaboration you have with Apple and other organizations to really promote diversity at your university. So that's pretty amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more about your university student union and its impact on your students?
Well, our student union is really we call it the kitchen or the living room of the campus. Most of us will remember going through student unions in our undergraduate years. Ours is a very large environment wherein students can come and hopefully find points of connection so that they have a home base on our campus. We're going to be doing more of this, but in our student union, for example, we have a dream center for our undocumented students. We have a pride center for our LGBTQ community. We have a veterans resource center in that location, and we're building other centers as we move along. But it is an environment where students find each other, find connections. Our campus, 38,000 students, is a pretty large, one of the largest campuses in the state of California. And so we know it is very, very crucial that students have a way to find connections and a sense of affirmation and belonging. And in our student union, we also are very devoted to giving students skills and abilities that they can use to translate what they've learned in the classroom into actual practices that they can take out into the marketplace: leadership skills, communication skills, problem solving, and the like. We're at a major initiative right now to expand our our university student union, and the students are heading the board of directors that do that. So there are real consequential leadership opportunities for our students there.
Excellent. I love to hear that. You know, it's a student union where students may think, oh, that's where I go get something to eat or a snack, but you're really using that common place where people come together to advance your initiatives. That's pretty amazing.
Yes.
I would imagine some organizations, some universities, even businesses may not be as far as advanced as you are in your DE&I initiatives. How have your initiatives evolved over time, and whether that's a changing student population or maybe the focus has changed on what you want to achieve as a university, but how have those initiatives evolved over time?
Well, thank you for that question. You know, I track the evolution in a diverse way for our campus back to about 1969. When we created what was the Educational Opportunities Program here on our campus. In fact, a couple of years after '69, I joined the university as a first-time freshman coming in through the Educational Opportunities Program, and it was an intentional effort on the part of our institution that was not very diverse at all to bring in Black and Brown students and to give them the support that they needed in order to complete their college degrees. We moved from having an access mechanism to creating fields of study that create scholarship around Black studies and Chicano studies, Asian American studies, Jewish studies, American Indian studies, Armenian studies. We have the only Central American studies program in the United States. So we have then moved into the classroom. Then we move forward to those kinds of centers that I just shared with you as various ways in which we began to galvanize and demonstrate community. We are just now coming out of a strategic planning process under this current president. And, you know, one of the clear areas of focus is what we call our core equity values: justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, JEDI. And we are taking the time to not presume that everybody in our organization understands these ideas in the same way. And so we're having conversations about what really does diversity mean. You know, sometimes it just rolls off the tongue, but we know by dint of our focus over the last couple of years that we haven't done quite the work that we should in all areas. What does inclusion mean? What does justice mean on the college campus today? So we are leading the way because we bring in students. We acculturate them, we train them, we give them understandings of some of these insights. Hopefully they go back out into business and industry and communities and have impacts right there. But we really do believe that we have a history of commitment to everything that, in fact, this award symbolizes.
Excellent. Wonderful model and framework for organizations to approach diversity D&I issues. So thank you for sharing that with us, and congratulations again to Cal State Northridge.
Thank you. We're so very honored.
The next honoree is helping to eliminate poverty in the San Fernando Valley and bring economic opportunities, social justice, and civic engagement for everyone. Congratulations to ICON CDC. With us today is Roberto Barragan, Interim Program Director. Roberto, I'd like to invite you to say a few words.
Devon, can you hear me okay?
Now I can hear you, yes. Excellent.
Great. Well, thank you very much. On behalf of the board and staff of the ICON CDC, I want to thank the San Fernando Valley Business Journal for honoring us with this Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award. I'm calling you today on my way to taking my daughter to college at the University of New Mexico. And so it's a momentous day for us, but it's also an important day to recognize ICON and what it's doing in the San Fernando Valley in support of DEI. Historically, the Valley has not always been friendly to Latino businesses, especially those of new immigrants. City regulation, lack of capital, and challenging stereotypes have always been in the way. And at times, even less inclusive to the Latino population than the rest of LA. Part of the reason has been a lack of supportive. Part of the reason has been a lack of supportive organizations. and organizations creating new and growing fledgling Latino small business. ICON CDC seeks to address the access to capital and technical assistance needs of Latino entrepreneurs and small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It sounds very, very impactful. I understand that ICON CDC has is creating jobs for low-income individuals for years. Are there other parts of the mission you'd like to share with the group here?
ICON has been, over the past 20 years, been focusing on helping create and grow Latino small business and entrepreneurs, and Latino businesses and entrepreneurs. Everything from street vendors to retail businesses to growing and large employers. So over the years, we've created thousands of jobs, helping hundreds of businesses access capital, seek technical assistance, all pointed at employing local residents in the city of Los Angeles. We've been fortunate enough to be running the North and South Valley Business Source Centers, funded by the city of LA, focused on creating and growing and employing local San Fernando Valley residents.
No, that's wonderful. I mean that's really tangible effort and results and impact to the community. So thank you for what ICON is doing for our community. I also wanted to turn it around a little bit. I know you're helping entrepreneurs in the communities, and it's probably an entrepreneur trying to call you right now because they're pretty persistent.
They are.
But I also want to talk about you actually hiring individuals, I think, to work with you and actually work in your organization from the community, and how that has impacted your organization.
Well, it's interesting that you're honoring CSUN, because many of our employees are matadors. Many of our employees went to CSUN and have decided to stay in the community to work with local businesses. And I think that speaks to the whole issue of DEI, is that DEI is an intentional process. Companies and organizations, as small as ICON or as big as Amgen, have to be intentional about, will they be hiring locally? Will they be hiring diversity? Will they be hiring women? And it's not simply about outreach anymore. I don't think anyone, believes anymore that simply showing that you've tried is enough. Now it's about being able to show that your workforce, that your leadership, that your board of directors reflects the communities that it serves. And to be intentional means I am going to hire a person of color for that job stay open until I hire the person that I want and we need. Then I'm going to hire a woman for this job, and I'm going to keep that job open until I find a person that fits that need. And so I think DEI has gone beyond newspaper ads and job fairs, but now it's become intentional decisions by executives that say that we're going to hire the people that we should be hiring.
No, thank you. I think that's a great point to bring up in our D&I journeys. We're moving beyond talking about it and saying we're going to do something, moving to what you're talking about, the accountability. Are we actually doing it? And I think that helps in regards to, one, you see more tangible results, but also if you're not kind of achieving your goals, you have a framework to look back and say, why not? And what else do they need to do? So thank you for sharing that. So again, thanks again. Congratulations to your award. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it.
Thank you, Devon. And I want to acknowledge Wells Fargo Bank, who's been a leader on DEI for decades now. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. Our next honoree, you could say, never takes a vacation. They are continuously engaging with schools year-round, building playgrounds, funding college field trips, introducing STEAM labs, and so much more. And they do this all in an effort to ensure a stronger public education system, which is really key to an overall thriving Los Angeles. So the next honoree is your Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. And with us today is the head of employee experience, Horacio Galindo. Welcome, Horacio. I'd like to invite you to say a few words.
Horacio, I think you're still on mute if you want to maybe start over. There you go.
Apologies there. Thank you so much. It's an honor to accept this award on behalf of the entire staff of the LA Rams. Well, we continue to be extremely proud of having won our first ever, and hopefully not our last, Super Bowl championship in Los Angeles. We're also very proud that as one of the most diverse NFL clubs in the league, our commitment to a diverse and inclusive culture is being recognized today by the San Fernando Valley Business Journal. So thank you.
No, thank you. I'm a Bears fan, but I'm very happy. I'm living in LA now. I'm happy the Rams won. Wanted to talk about your organization specifically. I know you do a lot of great work in the community. It's in the news, it's appreciated, and it's impactful. But I wanted to focus a little bit more internally. What initiatives or steps have you taken to champion diversity and inclusion within the workplace?
So in 2018, it had been 2 years since I joined the Rams, the NFL had recognized us as the most diverse organization in the entire league. We ranked number 1 and number 2 in terms of race and gender, respectively. And since then, we've been able to maintain that position, right, as one of the most diverse teams in the NFL. And we've done it through a lot of intentional efforts. You know, Roberto talked a lot about being intentional. I think that's very important in a DEIB, effort. And so a couple of things come to mind that I want to share. In 2020, recognizing that we as a leadership team needed to bring others into the fold and others to help us navigate, our DEIB areas, we actually created an ID council, an inclusion and diversity council, that essentially is led by 12 cross-functional, non-executive employees, and it has an executive advisory board. What that has actually created for us is that team came back to the leadership team and recommended some guidelines that they've named the Shaq Harris Rule. And basically, the Shaq Harris Rule is very simple. Every job that's posted needs to interview at least 5 employees or 5 individuals, and 2 of which have to be of a diverse background, right? Either a person of color or a female. In addition to support that, we introduced a diversity referral incentive where if an employee, referred someone to that open job, they receive $1,000. We also prioritize that any internal staff member who applied for that job would be guaranteed an interview. And then more importantly, we actually expanded our outreach to local universities that identified or had the representation that we were looking to attract. And so a year later, after having implemented that, I'm happy to say that, we've experienced 70% of our hires to be either a female or a person of color. And secondly, a 6% increase in female representation. And we attribute that to the Shaq Harris Rule. Second initiative, which we're about to and we're actually in the middle of doing it as we speak, is a partnership with Bank of America. This upcoming season, we will actually be hosting 2 individuals within our organization to be part of a season-long fellowship. And these individuals come from the foster care system. So they've been impacted by the foster care system. As a fellow, they'll be immersed into a job rotational program, a professional development program with us. And in addition, we will actually provide housing, transportation, and a $5,200 a month stipend for each fellow during their 6-month stay with us. And we hope that this access and this opportunity will give them, an inspiration to continue to proceed in our society and our community. But those are 2 programs that I'm exceptionally proud of, along with many others that we've done over the last 6 years.
That's really impressive. I mean, those are two very, very impressive and impactful initiatives. And then I think you mentioned 70% of your hires have been women or people of color.
Yes.
That's very impressive. I honestly did not know the LA Rams were the most diverse club in the NFL. So that's, again, a great result from the initiatives that the organization has implemented and executed. So that's amazing. These are, again, amazing initiatives that organization has implemented. How has that impacted your employees and the internal culture?
I think for us, what's really important for us is creating these feedback loops. Feedback is important. Many organizations, and I've worked for very large organizations. I've worked for Starbucks, Red Bull, Sony Music, and have held various leadership roles there. It's oftentimes sort of top-down approach. And because we're so small, we want to be very inclusive. And so over the last 5 years, we've had the opportunity to build programs that have allowed us to get feedback from employees directly, allowed us to hear feedback sometimes when it's really hard for us to hear directly from employees. And so if anything, the impact that we've been able to create is that trust, that respect, and the knowing that, we are all striving towards the same goal, right? Which is to basically create an environment that is inclusive and that where everybody feels like they belong.
Excellent. Again, I think you could be a model for all the other clubs in the league as well as organizations across the nation. So thank you for that. Congratulations to the entire Los Angeles Ram organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you, Josh.
Thank you so much, Devon. Really all great. I keep taking notes. Dr. Watkins, good luck with the new Equity Acceleration Program. Roberto, thank you for just your leadership and your advocacy for so many years in the Valley. And also, Horacio, congratulations on that recognition by the NFL as well. So really outstanding. I want to thank everybody for sharing so far. We're about halfway through the program. And for me, again, it's just as much about the recognition as it is about the opportunity to get inspired by all of our honorees as they tell us what they're doing in the communities and internally in their organizations. So as we move things along for the second half, I'd like to welcome and invite Diamond sponsor, Dr. Chandra Subramanian, Dean of the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics at CSUN, to please join us. Dean, welcome. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Josh. Before I start, let me welcome everyone here today, and especially congratulate all the honorees of the San Fernando Valley DEI Awards, and in essence, all the individuals who play a major role promoting an equitable, diverse, and inclusive workforce. From an academic point of view, lots of studies have shown that such a diverse and inclusive workforce creates strong and successful organizations. And this has become the norm now as we are moving forward in terms of how to build that. As such, we want to recognize your dedication, resilience, and your support and work on DEI activities, because it needs all of us to pull together in this direction. So before I start, let me say a few words about CSU Northridge and the College of Business and Economics in particular. CSUN is a large institution, as Dr. Watkins pointed out, with close to 40,000 students and more than 4,000 employees. We have a very diverse student and employee population, with more than 70% of our students being first generation and or Pell Grant recipients. That's a large number, by the way. However, our students, by the way, are extremely hardworking and resilient and have in some sense, and let me put it this way, they're also successful in moving up the economic ladder based on that resilience, such that the university recently was ranked as number 4 in the 2021 CollegeNet's Social Mobility Index. That makes a big difference in when we graduate our students. We are also proud to say that we are the 9th largest ACSB recognized College of Business in the country, with close to 7,000 students, graduating 2,000 students a year, which is why I was happy when several of you said that you have a number of CSUN employees, right? It shows in terms of the impact that we've had in San Fernando Valley. The college, by the way, also operates the largest university-based volunteer income tax assistance program in the country, serving close to 8,000 low-income taxpayers, bringing back to the community of San Fernando Valley more than $12 million in tax refunds and tax credits. That's bringing back the cash back to the Valley. Money Magazine recently ranked the college the number 1 business school in the country for value and quality. Our financial planning program that a lot of people here at San Fernando Valley participate in is ranked the number 6 program in the country by Wealth Management Magazine. And we also receive multiple top 10 ranking for the MS tax program. So in such a way, our students, by the way, do not only graduate with a degree in hand in the last few years, but they also receive certifications from organizations from like Google, SAP, Bloomberg, IRS, and Certified Financial Planning Board, among others. These are just some of the highlights that I wanted to sort of mention here today. To learn more, you can visit us at any time. But moving on, let me sort of announce the winners. In 2021, this company launched a fellowship program in partnership with Commercial Real Estate Women's Network and what they call Project Destine, a program designed to prepare participants for rewarding careers in commercial real estate. The drum roll, please. Congratulations to Marcus and Millichap. With us today is Unia Lubega, Senior Director, Sales and Recruiting, West and Head of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Unia, we'd like to invite you to join us and say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. I appreciate the introduction. And thank you to the San Fernando Business Journal for honoring Marcus and Millichap for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion 2022 award. To all the other companies that were nominated in this category, this is a win for all of us within the San Fernando Valley. So Marcus and Millichap is a leading firm that specializes in commercial real estate sales, financing, research, and as well as advisory services. Our company has the largest team of investment sales specialists in the industry that are dedicated to meeting the diverse needs of our private and institutional investors throughout the United States and in Canada. With more than 80 brokerage offices in the US and in Canada, our local experts serve some of the major product types within different markets. We're headquartered in Calabasas, and we have a brokerage office in Encino as a San Fernando Valley operations. So thank you.
Great. Unia, as such a large organization, I would appreciate if you can tell us a little more about the fellowship program. I'm really interested. How has it actually grown your Marcus and Millichap's DEI efforts?
So our fellowship program, which is a 24-month brokerage training program, was designed to empower individuals from diverse backgrounds who will one day serve as leaders within our industry. So we started off our first cohort last February with 5 cohorts. And out of those 5, at least 3 of them were diverse. And our second cohort kicked off with 20 fellows. And out of those 20 fellows, we had about 8 diverse, meaning there were women, people of color, and people from other ethnic groups. So we're being intentional about how we recruit, but most importantly, how we retain our talent. In addition to the fellowship program, we've also started what we call our SIP program, which is the Sales Internship Program. As this is a 12-month program that is also designed to create opportunities to build greater careers while building wealth and positively impacting our communities. Unlike the fellowship program, the SIP program is a 12-month program that really prepares diverse and ambitious talent to create a path for a very successful career within commercial real estate brokerage.
Wonderful information, by the way. I need to connect with you given our diverse student body in terms of how they can get these opportunities. But in the meantime, what steps have you taken to get the leadership team? Because that's always the big issue in terms of whether it can be driven by the leadership team to champion these DEI initiatives.
So, for us, if you look at one of the founders of our firm, George Marcus, who is also the chairman of the company, is an immigrant from Greece. And he migrated to the United States when he was 4. So he started the firm to serve the small private investors, and this segment has grown over the years with the idea of bringing Wall Street to Main Street. Now, if you look at Hassam Naji, our president and CEO, he's also an immigrant from Iran, and he has an amazing story that a lot of diverse people can relate to. So they're very passionate about changing what commercial real estate currently looks like. I don't know if a lot of you know, but commercial real estate has been predominantly white male, but they're champions of diversity. And they're not just being supportive in a way of just clicking a box, but they're putting the resources in terms of financial resources to help us continue to tap into talent that is diverse and also help them sponsor them through retaining programs that we have within the firm. So in this case, for us, we're being very intentional. And I had Horacio talking about the intentionality of all companies. So we're being intentional about what we're doing to reshape the commercial real estate industry as we continue to grow as a firm.
Thank you, Yunya, and congratulations, by the way. And recruit, develop, and retain employees of all diverse backgrounds and experiences. So let me congratulate Pearlman Brown and Wax. We have Ada Rodriguez, Senior Associate Attorney with us today. Ada, congratulations. Please join us and say a few words. Unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to be here for Pearlman Brown and Wax, along with my co-chair, Antoine Wall, of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee here at the firm. We're honored to be here and to be awarded this privilege.
So, Ada, you're the co-chair, as you mentioned, of your firm's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Tell us more about this committee and the impact of the committee on your organization.
Sure. So the committee became official last year in 2022, and it really was an endeavor by the firm to make official what the firm has been doing since its inception in 1984. We're very proud of the fact that Pearlman Brown and Wax has been a leader in the diversity initiative since that time. The firm does in fact employ over 65% women, including in partnership roles, and of course in service roles, clerical roles, and in the attorney roles. We strive to be conscious of endeavoring to foster a cultural, ethnic, and religiously diverse place for work, as well as fostering those values with our clients. And again, we believe that that is what makes us a strong organization in that role.
So, Antoine, since you are here, Ada was mentioning how successful you've been, but I'm just curious, what would you say have been the most difficult part of implementing a DEI program at Pearlman?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Again, along with Ada, very honored to be here. I think one of the challenges is putting forth something that is intentional and something that we want to have an impact on without it coming across as like a requirement, if you will, even though it's intentional. And it's something that the firm wants to develop and to grow, and for it to be something that can be appreciated both internal by our staff and employees, and of course, the impact that we can have externally with those that are associated with the firm. But I think the greater challenge, I would say at this point in time, being a new program, is being intentional and doing our part to have success without it feeling like it's something that we're obligated or forced to do.
Absolutely. Thank you. So thank you, Ada and Antoine, for being here and for your insightful takeaways. We are now down to our final 3 honorees of the afternoon, starting with SATA Systems. Impactful initiatives like SATA University, an 8-week training program with an emphasis on diversity and inclusion, help bridge the gap between underrepresented talent and meaningful job opportunities. Here with us today is Okida Shahadi, Senior Vice President of People Operations. Okida, welcome. You want to say a few words?
Thank you for having me here to represent SATA. I feel honored to be part of such an amazing group of people and companies. You're all truly making such a difference. And thank you so much for the recognition, San Fernando Valley Business Journal. Just a little bit about SATA is an IT consulting company. We're headquartered in North Hollywood. So beyond our expertise and experience, what sets us apart is our people. So with diverse experiences and backgrounds, we always find new ways of delivering technology that transforms businesses.
Thank you, Okida. Before you go, how does your culture and leadership, as we always talk about international leadership, impact SATA's ongoing efforts to advance DEI?
Right. So at SATA, we're dedicating to fostering an inclusive culture for everyone. One of the key things that sets SATA apart is our dedication to fostering an inclusive place. Our leadership team recognizes that, you simply just can't achieve your business goals without a strong foundation for recruiting and retaining a diverse workforce. So some of the things that we do around DE&I at SATA, we have recruitment initiatives. So just to give you an idea, we use machine learning to remove bias from our job description. Our recruiters have targets for diverse hiring. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the company, but that was here before. But year to date, our diversity new hires are at 73%. So 73% of our new hires are of a diverse background. And we've hired hundreds just this year. And kind of what contributes to that is even more impressive. And that is all that is from our employee referral programs. 50% of our hires come from our employee database. So the more diverse folks that we hire, we will, it just adds to the kind of culture that we want to create and have created. We also have great training initiatives. We ensure that our managers are trained on the importance. We bring awareness around DE&I. Again, and it shows, and we measure this through our employees through ENPS scores, and we take all sorts of surveys to see where everybody's at. We also have lots of ERG groups at SATA. So all that is kind of some of the efforts that we're all doing. But I truly believe that, it's a collaboration and deliberate goals that, and initiatives that create this type of culture and success. And we've been very lucky to have that.
Thank you, Okida. I really love using technology to reduce this kind of bias, by the way. So Let me ask a question. Given the few initiatives that you mentioned, what's your favorite and why?
So anything that is led by employees for culture events are my favorite. So time to time, we have events where employees showcase their personal talents, their strength, and most importantly, their interests. So we have things like drumming 101, salsa making, but we also have raising awareness, for LGBTQIA+ and Black History Month, Women History Month. So all these are very, very important employee-led culture events. So why is it my favorite? So our people are not just passionate about technology, right? But they're also about these topics. And I love to see that spark in people. I also love seeing people come together to celebrate each other. The support is phenomenal. It isn't about management or executive leaders. We make sure SATians from all walks of life are invited to host.
Thank you, Akeda, and congratulations to all the winners, by the way. Josh, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Congratulations to everyone so far. We are down to our final two, and I have the honor of introducing them. Our next DEI champion provides behavioral health services to individuals and families of all ages and ethnicity in the San Fernando Valley, regardless of their ability to pay. Congratulations to the San Fernando Valley Community Mental Health Center. I'd like to welcome President and CEO Tim Ryder. Please join us and say a few words. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Thank you so much, Josh. It's a pleasure. And on behalf of our 400 plus employees and volunteers, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be awarded this, and an honor also to be one of the few nonprofits to be awarded this as well. Our center, we call it the center because our San Fernando Valley Community Mental Health Center is just too long of a name. But our center is now in its 53rd year of providing the highest quality mental health and now substance use treatment in the San Fernando Valley. In fact, we're the largest mental health provider in the San Fernando Valley and the second or third largest in Los Angeles. And our focus too is on, just like Amgen, health equity. We serve the most underserved populations here with a full array, like you said, all ages. And we have also a critically important homeless continuum of care. And while we are we're fairly new to the DEI initiative process, about 2 years now. However, we have had for over 10 years a very active and engaged cultural humility committee, or cultural competency committee, as it was called previously, that focuses for staff on self-reflecting on their own backgrounds, reflecting on the backgrounds of their clients and their families, and engaging those cultural aspects into treatment planning. So that major focus was on staff. And after we started our DEI, after May of 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, I felt that it was just critically important. We had a critical need to address DEI issues internally. And I wrote a letter to all staff announcing that we would launch this long-term project, honestly assess where we're at, focus on engagement, focus on inclusion. It was a very robust inclusion survey that we did that I'll be happy to talk about later. We formed our DEI committee late in 2020 with staff from all levels. And that committee now makes recommendations directly to our senior management. And to me, I actually chair the DEI committee, and we brought in a consultant with expertise in DEI principles and training, et cetera. So I'll stop there. I can certainly talk about our inclusion survey and our next steps, but I'll welcome questions, and certainly thank you so much, San Fernando Valley Business Journal, for this honor.
Tim, thanks for sharing that, and congratulations. I love that you put that together. You're doing surveys, you're engaging your teams, and I'm curious. You did mention the fact that you are one of the few nonprofits here, and you're also focused on mental health, which we've seen is so important, and it's really come front and center these last couple of years with so many employees working from home and isolation and everything that goes along with it. My question to you would be, as a DE&I leader in both the mental health space and the nonprofit space, what are some of the biggest challenges you face with incorporating inclusion, diversity, and equity?
I think one of the biggest challenges is knowing where our employees are coming from with this. Certainly everyone on the call here and in this meeting, staff turnover has been tremendous. And I think the more that we can engage them, find out how to further advance a feeling of belonging at our center, only helps our staff, our clients that much more, because if staff is healthy and feeling good about their work, they're certainly going to bring that to the clients, and that then completes our mission. So one of the biggest things that we did with this inclusion survey, very robust, very lengthy, talked about engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion, talked about decision making. Do they have a voice? And so we keyed off on some of our strengths. One of the biggest strengths is that over 98% felt a strong feeling of commitment and knowledge about our mission and our purpose. So keying off on that strength, we also looked at some of the areas we need to work on. And there were about 3 or 4 groups, Black African Americans, those with 2 to 10 years of experience, where we seem to kind of lose them, and those at the lower rungs, if you will, of the organizational ladder, felt a little bit less engaged. So what we did was now go into some really in-depth focus groups, chaired by some of those on our committee, not by me, so that people can really open up and say what they would like to see. How can they become better engaged? So that's our next step. And also creating, one of our biggest challenges now is going to be creating pipelines for leadership development, because our leadership didn't always necessarily reflect the clients that we serve, or even the staff. So creating a broader pipeline with development training and more inclusiveness in that pipeline, I think, is going to really inform our decision making and provide for better mental health care and better community care.
Yeah, well, I certainly commend you, as we all do, for your internal efforts. The center, as you refer to it, externally, is such a huge resource for the community. What are your most utilized programs today?
Today, again, we have a broad array of mental health services. So I would say it's basically right now the mental health services focused on youth in schools. They have had a tremendous amount of pressure on them during the pandemic. And so suicidality, those issues have really presented a crisis in the community. I think the homelessness is one of the areas that we really need to focus on. And one of our biggest pushes is many times people feel that if we just house the homeless, that'll solve the issues. And our purpose is to say, if you want supportive housing, you need to have supportive mental health, behavioral health, and other services so that you can have a higher success rate, so that they don't cycle in and out of being housed and then on the street again and being housed. Those are probably our biggest issues and some of our most utilized programs to date.
Tim, well, I'll tell you, as a San Fernando Valley resident myself, I thank you for everything you're doing for our community. Congratulations, and keep up the great work.
Thanks so much. Thank you for this honor.
Absolutely. All right, so we're down to our final honoree of the program. Their diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy provides common direction and clear goals across the organization. One of the things that I've noticed is it's that intentionality that we've heard over and over again today as being so important, the common direction, the clear goals across the organization. This one focuses on the workforce, the marketplace, and then advocacy. Congratulations to our honoree, Wells Fargo Bank. I'd like to welcome back Devon Davis, Wells Fargo Commercial Banking, to say a few words. Devon, congratulations.
Thank you, Josh. I'm honored to accept this recognition on behalf of Wells Fargo. I'm passionate, just like many of us on this phone call, about diversity, and will always look for ways to incorporate diversity in my job, even if it's not particularly to my day-to-day. But I also want to recognize our senior management team. We've talked a lot about on this call about being intentional, about getting the buy-in from leadership. And I think our leadership team has done a great job of setting the tone that DE&I is the right thing to do. It makes business sense, and it also encourages and inspires our employees, our team members. And one great example is we at Wells Fargo, we created a kind of a new vertical, almost a new line of business called Diverse Segments, Representation, and Inclusion. And this is its own business line. It's led by a senior executive who reports directly to the CEO. It's not giving HR or administration, the CFO, the additional responsibility of DEI. This is all that they do all day, every day. So I think it's great for the senior leadership team to recognize how important diversity is, how important inclusion is across the entire organization, across the nation. So I also want to recognize all those team members, all those coworkers who do that day in and day out.
Yeah, one of the common things that we've seen and reported on over the last couple of years is just the increasing number of DE&I leadership roles that we're seeing being started and formulated at companies, which is an extremely positive thing overall. And obviously, this trickles down to the employees, and you talk about team a lot. So I'm going to ask you, what does it mean to you, both personally and professionally, to be able to be part of an organization that not only talks about it and has and offers a strong commitment to DE&I, but really demonstrates it with new leadership in this area?
No, to me, it's imperative. It's very encouraging to know that I can bring my whole self to work. I was hired. My job is really to make loans to middle market companies, but I'm constantly encouraged to participate in or even lead diversity initiatives inside and outside the company. I've had the ability to talk to my peers, bring a group of my peers together to say, this is how we should approach diversity. This is a way we can actually intertwine what we do on a day-to-day basis and go out to our community and say, we value your business. We want to be your banking partner. And to be able to do that as part of my job has been very inspiring. Again, it's important, I think, to have the initiative led by the leadership team, but also within kind of a grassroots basis as well. And I think it's important for it to be a long-term commitment. It can't be a speech given or a one-time program. It's got to be a long process that takes time, money, accountability, because it really isn't not just a kind of a one-time project. It's a process that takes years to develop. So I just think, I would not be as productive as a professional if we didn't have that strong commitment.
Thank you for sharing that. At the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned the importance on DE&I and the way it impacts our companies and our teams. And we've talked a little bit about community, but I also mentioned how it impacts our products and our clients and our services. So I'm curious, and maybe this is a more challenging question, how have you seen Wells Fargo's DE&I culture impact your clients and then their interactions with the bank?
No, that's a great question. And when you talk about kind of our product, a lot of times you think a bank, their product is money, is lending, but really it's developing relationships where we become your banking partner. And our efforts have kind of come through our frontline employees who are interacting with customers and clients and prospects. And the impact has been very positive. It's very important for the bank to communicate to the communities that we serve that we not only want your business, but we value you, your culture, your businesses, the way you are supporting the communities in which you're located in. It's important that we make intentional efforts, and that's the word again, intentionality, to grow our efforts in terms of outreach to different communities, different businesses, different entrepreneurs. Also, our support in regards to some of our foundational or philanthropic efforts, making sure we're promoting in organizations, nonprofits that support communities. Also promoting diverse candidates within the organization and making sure that we're representing the community. And of course, always making sure we're increasing the access to capital for our communities. So again, it's important to note it's a long-term commitment and something that's helps us communicate our message to the community. And granted, it's not something that we've always done the best in. We've made mistakes. We've made errors within the organization as large as ours. But it's important to recognize that and to make sure that we're moving forward in the right direction.
I appreciate that. I think everything you're saying is spot on. In particular in the service industries where interaction and who you work with and your relationship with them means so much. Even here at the Journal, we try to report as accurately and as best we can on the communities in which we serve and represent. DE&I makes all the difference in the world, both internally and externally. Devon, thank you so much for accepting and for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Well, how about please join me in a huge virtual round of applause for this year's honorees. I really appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you all sharing your initiatives, your strategies, providing with us each with something to think about. I've got 3 pages worth of notes here and ideas that we can put into action and that we can share. I want to thank all of our sponsors for their continued support, their contributions to this event. We can't do these things without you. I want to remind you, I think I mentioned earlier, in the Monday, August 29th, print and digital versions of the San Fernando Valley Business Journal will be highlighting all the people and other organizations you didn't have a chance to hear from today, as well as the ones you did in that edition. And then also, we're having a great conversation here, and I'm sure there are others that are within your organization. They're within your networks. They're your friends, your family that would get value out of being a part of this conversation and hearing it. This entire recorded version will be available on our website tomorrow at sfvbj, San Fernando Valley Business Journal.com. So you can take a look at it, you can forward it. And most importantly, let's just keep the conversation going. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.